to get all this up. Right, I think everything is starting to load up. Looks like everything's loaded up. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I just thought I would sit down, do a current events and Q&A for you lovely people. Let me get that pinned up to the top. All right, let's get over to the topic of the day. And people can rewatch. You guys can scroll back on some of this, obviously, if you want to see everything I have to say on this. First, there you go. Get that like in, James. So it looks like Trump has signed the bill. I kind of have a different viewpoint on these files than a lot of people. And the reason I've got a different viewpoint, I think this has been blown out of proportion. I don't think there's going to be anything damning to Trump in there. Biden and them would have used it already. But here's my big concern with all this. We've turned this whole thing into this big public fiasco and political fiasco. And the reality is when it comes to something like massive numbers of piles of emails of rich and famous people, some things and all these files, there's some things I want people to think about. People say, oh, nothing should be redacted. Everything should be open. That includes information on victims. Do people understand that? You're also talking about private correspondences with people who maybe didn't commit any crimes at all. Maybe even people that someone like that is blackmailing and then they're dirt. And they may not be being blackmailed over something illegal. People like him, rich and famous people like that, blackmail other people. Man, they use stuff for leverage. They gossip. The same thing, if people want unfiltered stuff, that means information on ongoing investigations. That would mean information on the victims. Do you guys see where I'm saying, man, this is a major, if that were to happen, and that's what a lot of people are calling for, and they're not thinking this through. Uncensored, unfiltered information on all this means that the public will get information on ongoing investigations. You get information on victims, their families. You'd be able to read the stories of things done to the victims in detail. Like, do you understand? That's kind of sick. Okay. If nothing is redacted, like that's problematic. You're talking just straight, oh, we get that all the emails of every person this evil person has corresponded with. Because he was obviously an evil man. I think that's the appropriate term to use. This person was evil, right? He was an evil man. His unfiltered emails with everyone, that means people would be able to say, oh, well, why was this person talking to him when there was nothing illegal? And I think people need to understand, not every human being who interacted or did any business with this person, not everyone knew what he was up to. There could be a whole lot of innocent people who had correspondences with him who had no idea what he was doing. Right? I don't think Donald necessarily had a change of heart. That's a totally separate thing. That's just smart politics. I don't think he actually was concerned with anything being found on him. I think it's a good political strategy. Man, you need to go read like the 48 Laws of Power of the Stressing. Like you have no clue how all these people who have these speculations, they don't seem to understand politics or how wealthy and powerful people think and strategize. It's very obvious the average person does not. How do you know he really cared at all? Or was this a way to distract? Right? So think about that for a moment. If you had something you didn't care about a super amount, but you could make your enemies hyper fixate on it and waste resources and time on it, would you direct them into thinking that you really cared? You don't necessarily know what his motive was. Maybe he cared, maybe he didn't. How do you know he had a change of heart at all? You don't know that. So stuff to think about with that. What's up, David? You don't know that he had a change of heart. But the thing is, maybe he has a child he wants to protect or something of his own. You don't know what he didn't want seen, though. But I can tell you right now, there's nothing in there that's going to be criminal on his part. You know how we know that? Common sense. Biden and Harris would have thrown the book at him. They would have nailed him to the wall in that election if there was anything really powerful they could use in there. They would have used it. Okay? You have to be clear on that. So, and that's just some common sense. So I think the people who have used this to go after him, I don't think they've thought through all the ramifications of the blowback of this. I don't know that they're going to be, but here's the thing, Stressy. Isn't this why we have a criminal justice system? Isn't this why we have this, so that this stuff doesn't go into the full public for you to read everybody's emails and to draw, do you see what I mean? A whole lot of innocent people could end up being stalked or hurt or whatever purely for innocent correspondences because all this stuff gets released. A lot of information about victims is going to be released, right? That's the concern when people talk about, yes, the juicy stuff. So, but people want all the juicy, and it's like, do you not understand the problems? Right, but there are people who are calling for unredacted stuff. You've got to go through and filter this. You've got to do that, because victims, when you're releasing stuff like this, that's the point. Those victims have to be protected. And I'm saying that as a survivor, right? As a survivor of this, to me, the most important thing with any of these files is making sure those victims get protected, right? Those children, those underage girls. As a survivor of child abuse myself, I don't know Anthony now. I don't know who this guy is, but he's been kind of funny troll. Protecting them has to be an absolute priority. It has to be. I'm aware of that, Christina, but again, people need to understand the importance of that, right? And I want to highlight that. And it's the same thing with correspondences. And this is the problem but there are a lot of people, oh, we should all have access to everything. Do you understand that if you're talking about all their emails and gossip, you're looking at all the possible stuff they've used to blackmail people, people's dirty laundry that isn't illegal, right? For example, let's say he and the G lady or whatever, those two evil people, right? They're evil people. Let's say they've got all this dirt on people they're using to blackmail them, and that's in this stuff. And then that comes out. And what if it's not even illegal? It's just unfavorable stuff. This is the problems, So, and I'm just playing devil's advocate in this, of saying this isn't a straightforward, because I do see, let me point out, Christina, what I'm saying, there are people who are out there saying, oh, we should just be able to read everything unredacted. Well, I'm going to disagree with that. All right. I don't think we need unredacted. We don't need everyone in the world's private correspondences. There is a basic right to privacy, and that has to be weighed out. But do I agree that we need to get everyone who's responsible? Yes. And that I agree with. So let me also be clear, right? People want to know everything, but they don't have a right to know everything. Because think of the way that people act in mass. So there's going to be people who had innocent exchanges with him that are going to be in the emails. And that's what I mean. There's going to be a witch hunt on innocent people, and that's going to be a potential problem. That is a concern. I'm simply pointing out the negatives. By the way, it's all going to come out, and we're aware this is all eventually going to come out with all of it. Like, let's be clear on that. And I think we all want everyone guilty to be nailed to the wall. And let me be clear on that. Let me be clear on my position. I think every person who was involved with anything involving these underage girls needs to be in prison. Anyone who had any part of it, I want to see them caught. I agree. Okay. His name coming up doesn't mean that he did anything, though. That's irrelevant. And that's kind of the point. Like, that's, again, we're over to Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, because if it turns out they were just wanting to blackmail him and they hate him, that's a plus. So if all you see is a bunch of stuff where Epstein hates Trump and thinks he's crazy, this makes Trump look good. So him being mentioned isn't useful. So what you're looking for is, was he involved? Right? I'm definitely not an Epstein apologist. Oh, absolutely not. Let me be clear. I'm glad the dude's dead, to be honest. And I do hope that everyone involved, anyone who touched any of those girls, anyone who was involved in transporting any of those girls, I want them in prison. Every last one of them. Any of the guards who maybe just kind of closed the door to any of it, you know what? He should be in jail. Okay? Right? I think anyone who is directly involved in any handling of those girls in any way, needs to be in jail. Absolutely. Why do we only have one like in here, by the way? We got one like. I need to get those likes up, guys. Oh, hold on. All right, answer that. Oh man. So, but I haven't read all of the files and stuff. But I'm simply saying that, look, we do need to be careful when we start digging into everybody's private stuff, in an unfiltered public of everyone seeing. Because again, the only concern is innocent bystanders, innocent people get caught in the crossfire. And I think that we have to be careful of that in this situation, that every person who gets mentioned, that every person who had a correspondence with him, doesn't mean they are involved. Right? And that is something that we have to think about in all this. Let's make sure that we're going after the people who actually did wrong. And that's all I'm asking. And that's all I'm saying with that. But again, let me be clear. I am a survivor of child abuse myself. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse myself. I absolutely want anyone prosecuted and in prison who had anything to do with those girls. Okay. So let me be clear on that point. Anyone who there is tangible, credible evidence, right? Actual credible evidence that they were involved in any of the trafficking or touching those girls, I want them in prison. Okay. So let me be clear. They need to be in prison. Right. And I've spoke about that before, Stressy. So, all right. But I do think people get a little cray-cray with the TDS. And let me be clear again on that. I'm critical of Trump on some stuff. I'm not like a major all-on Trump fanboy. Yes, I voted for him because he was the best option, but I have my own criticisms of the man. He is very far from perfect. So particularly his stuff on gun control. Executive action he used on gun control, I got a major problem with. No, I discuss current issues. I discuss current events around the world. Hot topics I'm absolutely going to touch on, but I'm not even really doing politics. I'm talking about this whole thing with these files. I'm not a particularly political person, to be fair, right? I vote. I have my opinions. These days, I am not like a super political person. I don't agree with any full ideology, right? I don't agree with any party completely. Again, I do case by case issues. So, and I'm not a super political person. I'm a mildly political person. I vote. I have opinions. I have problems with both parties. I have problems with people on both sides of the aisle. I have problems with just all the corruption in general. Hey, David, there's no way I could run for public office with all the nonsense out there. Right? It would just be impossible. There's no way. It's not even an option on the table. All right. So, and Anthony's got the point, and that's my point, Christina. Biden and Harris had access to those files. You do understand with the level of security clearance Biden and Harris had, they had access to everything. They knew it was in there. You can't be in denial of that reality. If they had really had something on Trump, they would have used it. But I think my point is, though, I am concerned that innocent people are going to get caught in the public crossfire. That's a concern. Now, David's point, if no one else goes to prison, we should all be upset. Okay? Right? If not a single other soul goes to prison over this, we should all be pissed off. Because there's no way only 2 people were involved in trafficking these girls or the abuse, or 3 people, right? Not even possible. Just statistically, logistically, it is impossible. There has to be dozens. Has to be dozens based on what we know. So yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say if at least 20 or 30 more people don't go to prison from this whole thing, we all got bamboozled. Okay. And I think if they really go in hard, I think you're going to see people on both parties. And we need to be admitting of that. There's going to be people on both sides of the aisle politically involved in this crap. Okay. So let us not pretend this is all one side being the, no, there's going to be Republicans and Democrats. There's going to be liberals. There's going to be conservatives. There's going to be people on both sides of the aisles involved in this level of filth. Okay. Let us be clear on that. Right. So we do need to be ready and brace for that, because that's what it's people. If they are honest with it, you're going to see people on both sides, but if they were involved, they need to be in prison, and I think reasonable people can set aside their politics and agree on that point. Anyone who is directly involved in trafficking the girls, anyone who had any sort of relations with the girls, anybody involved indirectly in the cover up, oh yeah, that's prison, right? Prison. Throw the book at them, irrespective of their ideology or party. Defiant Trill says TRT increased to 200 milligrams a week. Secure coach, nurse practitioner just needs a doctor to sign off. David, I don't know. We don't know who's involved. Based on the info we have, there's not any other person that we can say is involved. Just because Bill Clinton's talked about doesn't mean he's involved. And keep in mind that the Justice Department already said neither Trump nor Bill Clinton are being indicted at this time or suspected of wrongdoing. They've already said that. You don't think the FBI has already read this stuff? You don't think the Department of Justice has read all of it last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? They have officially stated neither one of them are currently being suspected of anything. They actually gave those names. So do you see the problem? One thing if they don't answer. Right? It's one thing if they don't answer. It's another thing when they specifically said. So I think it's extremely, extremely unlikely on either Trump or Clinton. And so I think people on both sides need to let that go. Look, as much as people who hate Bill Clinton would love to see that, and as much as people who hate Trump would love to see it, I don't think there's going to be anything on either one of them. Something would have been leaked directly. The FBI would have said something different than what they did. I don't think you're going to get either one of them, even if there's full disclosure. Okay. Oh, man. So, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, young buck. So when we start saying psyops and things, I am not a conspiracy theorist. Elbow pain during a low bar squats. You got to learn to pull your arms down, Christina. Get those arms down. You got to learn to use your arms like hooks. Get a hold of the bar. You got to pull down. You got to stop pushing up on that bar when it gets heavy. You can't chicken wing it. Can't push up. Get those elbows down, girl. Get those elbows down. Okay. Yep. So your elbows and wrists are both hurt on squats. You're pushing up on the bar. I will bet my bottom dollar on that. You're pushing up on that bar. Get it pulled down. Get them pulled in. Stop chicken wing and stop pushing up. Pull down. Down, down, down. So, who are your favorite primary sources in researching? I don't have primary sources. I read the same stuff everyone else does, but I don't follow conspiracy boards and groups. I'm not interested. I don't believe the Illuminati are real and so on and so forth. Sorry, guys. But do I think Epstein was a horrible person? Yes. Do I think he obviously orchestrated with other wealthy and powerful people? Yes. No. And I will fall back to what we know about human psychology. Psychopaths are drawn to power. People on the dark triad are drawn to power. Do you believe in God? Yes, I'm a Christian. No, I don't watch any of those directly. Time is up. Right. So, yes, I believe in God, and I do believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God and died for our sins. So that's what I believe. Right. By the way, you don't have to agree with me to be in my channel on that. It's purely what I believe. Can I explain what? Do you need me to explain Christianity to you? The tenets of Christianity? Why did that happen to Charlie Kirk? There's a lot going on there. Hey, Cog, I would rather not turn my channel into a religious channel than have to do all that. Like, it's not good for my channel for me to turn it into a Christian preaching thing, to be fair, man. And as much as I am a believer, I really don't want to have to be a preacher in my live streams, man. It's not my place, not my calling in life. But so what exactly are you? I mean, I can try to give you an explanation. So what specifically are you asking? What are you confused by? And I'll do my best to explain it, but I'm trying to preach to you here because I'm not a preacher. Like, that I am not like a schooled preacher who can give you the gospels. I can only give you the basics. But if you want to know, I can explain a little further. Um, when I was a kid, I played. Oh gosh, do you read the Old Testament? Uh, I've read the whole Bible at one point, but I believe that the Gospels supersede all of that. Meaning everything else is supplemental. That the teachings of Christ are the primary. That is your primary source, and everything else becomes supplemental work to it. So if there's anything that appears to be a conflict, you refer back to the teachings of Jesus. So if you see something in there that seems to conflict with what he's teaching, just defer to Jesus. I think that's a good safe bet. Okay. So what the Gospels tell us, God, I'm going to do my best to explain this. I'm going to do my best to explain this, and I may not do the best job. What the Gospels teach us is that Mary was human, right? Mary was descended from Abraham, but that through immaculate conception that God made her pregnant directly. Okay, and so therefore Christ was a physical manifestation of God in the flesh, like incarnated as his human form on earth. Right? Does this make sense? And that he sent himself down to be a sacrifice. So that God came in the flesh to teach humanity, to give his teachings, to give a continuation of the Old Testament, is the next step in it, to teach humanity, to give us his message, and then that he sacrificed himself in place of our punishments. Right? I can't break down the different sects for you, man. You're going to have to do your own research there. So again, if we go off of the teachings in the Gospels and we accept them as truth, and we accept the words of Christ as truth and what he taught, then he was the manifestation of God who sacrificed himself to pay our price for our mistakes and our sins, so that we don't have to go to hell, that we don't have to be punished for our wrongdoings. I have my own personal reasons, my own prayers, things I've seen, life experiences that have led me to have faith and belief in this. A lot of that's very deeply personal. I'm not really ready to make that sort of testimony in public. I'm not ready for that yet. Is that fair, Carl? But I do believe it. Right? I do believe it. And so I do believe that Christ died for our sins. And I believe that that atones us of our wrongdoing. And it doesn't mean that we're free to just go do whatever we want, right? Because he also said, if you love me, you'll do as I command. So he wants you to put your best effort forward. Try to be a good follower. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. But as long as you do believe that he did make that sacrifice for you, you will be spared from punishment by God. Right? That he will forgive your mistakes. But you are expected to put in the effort. So this is my understanding of it. This is what I understand to be the truth, to the best of my ability to express it. And hopefully that's a good enough explanation. All right. You know, now whether you choose to believe that or not is between you. That's up to you. That's between you and God. That's your own free will. All right. But I choose to believe. I have my own personal reasons, experiences, things I've seen through my life that have led me to believe that this is truth. All right. Is fornication outside of wedlock a sin? Yes, technically it's broken down in the Bible. And I've done lots of it. For by grace are you saved through faith. It's not yourselves as the gift of God, right? Right. And that's what the scriptures teach, that we're not redeemed and saved because of our acts and our good deeds. It's a gift from God that we have to accept. Right? That it's freely given. All we have to do is accept it and believe. Now, he does expect our acts and deeds to be good. He wants you to make the effort. I've seen some synchronicities, yeah. So, do you think you'll ever go celibate until marriage get closer to God? Me personally, I don't want to talk about my personal life. How do you know I'm not married? You don't know if I'm single, dating, engaged, or married, because I don't discuss that. So I leave my personal relationships off the internet. Right. Client there. You're not wearing a wedding ring. So this went from the Epstein files to Coach giving the testimony of Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Give me just a second, guys. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. We back, guys. And some people claim to have met God. Well, I've not met God personally, physically in that way. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, we're back. Bagpuss, what's up, gangster? There he is. We doing long today, Coach? We might. Peppermint said, for it is written, as I have said, live saith the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. All right. So, and that's not always easy for us to talk about, because I'm someone with a following and people will hate on me and whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, I am a follower of Christ. And so if another man asks me, I am required to spread that message to you. Again, the teachings of Jesus are very clear on that. You're not to deny him in front of other men. Like, that is a sin. Right? That is a sin. So when another man says, "Well, can you explain this to me? What do you mean that he is God or the Son of God?" This is a problem. So we are commanded as believers that you don't deny Christ before another man. Don't deny him with your mouth. And so put into that position, I am compelled to witness that testimony to you. So, like, again, as Felix said, the scriptures are very, very, very clear on that point. Like, there's no ambiguity about that point at all. Like, that's not even up for debate. All right. It has Cassidy Campbell just had a hair transplant. It looks like a photo of him you uploaded. He needs to get on the peanut butter. He needs to get on that peanut butter. I don't know if he had a hair transplant or not. I don't know. Right. But he does need to get on that peanut butter. All right, back over. Afternoon, coach. How was the workout today? About to hit some sled rounds. Leg day prayer. I'll pray for you. Hey, Ted, you jumped into the right one to pray about, man. Someone asked me, to explain how Jesus is God. And, again, as a believer, I am required to answer that. So we kind of had a whole explanation of how salvation works. Right? If you're not religious, it's not. My forearm is really sore from low bar. So again, you got to pull down, Christina. But we'll pray for you. Ted's about to go do sled work. If you did a diet plan for him, I give basic numbers. I don't necessarily do big diet plans. Coach, what about us atheists? What about you, atheists? So I am supposed to give you the testimony of Christ and let you decide what you want to do. All right, you have free will to make your own choices. Right? Are you doomed? Oh man, that's a point of major theological discussion. I may not be the best person to ask. Right? I don't know that I'm the best person to answer that question for you, but what I can tell you is that Christ does offer redemption. All right. Hold on. All right. Yeah. All right. Let's come back over to these other questions. You don't know any Christians? You don't know any? Interesting. I thought there were still a lot in your country. All right. Christina says, I'm cutting and my deficit isn't that big and I feel weaker in the gym. It could be a recovery issue. Yeah, most of that region are irreligious. Gotcha. Gotcha. Martin Luther said, "Sin break." I'm not even sure what that means. Just remember, God sees everything, right? Yeah. Coach, you type fast, right? You definitely do. But we've discussed that before too. I had some people say I might be faster than what I was tested at in high school. But they tested me at 70 words a minute because we had to be tested to pass the class. College prep typing. Yeah. The wrench means that he's a moderator. My deficit isn't that big, but I feel weaker today, coach. Well, again, there's a recovery issue at play. You may need to make some adjustments given that deficit. Your sleep, maybe your training loads, training volumes, right, need to be addressed. They need to be addressed. Yeah, he feels like a semi fetters. My volume is low, intensity high. Yeah, so I don't know. This is at consultation level help, honestly, Christina. I mean, it's only so much I can do in a live stream. You say you're in a small deficit, you're cutting, you're doing this, you're feeling weaker. It's only so much I can do in one of these. But if you want to hit me up for consultations, let me know. I'll be happy to try to help. That is, again, a professional endeavor. But that's one-on-one coaching level stuff. So. Because people can only communicate. The communication here is very limited. It's not like we can sit here and have an actual discussion over a video call. You're limited to typing. And then I'm going to have other questions and comments. I can't focus on just one person. So, yeah, something with nutrition, sleep, could be all sorts of stuff happening. So you got to run the full gambit of everything and look at it all in its totality. In its totality. Oh man. So Scott, did you see that? Because you're on Facebook too. Did you see the post with the size and strength post again that I did today? The arguments and discussions. It's just so bad. Oh man. People are just so profoundly ignorant on this topic. It's scary. And then someone invariably has to bring up Anatoly or whatever his name is. It's just like, just stop, guys. Just stop. Like, it's just satire. And I've never seen Foo Fighters live. Oh, I thought you were, Scott. I thought you were on Facebook too. See the new large study on order? No, I have not. The problem is artificial sweeteners is not a substance. That makes the study problematic. It's like when they say stupid stuff like red meat. Well, then it combines multiple animals, whether they're highly processed or have nitrates, you know what I mean? It's just not useful. But without me looking at it. So what did they find then? But the problem is a whole category of different substances is not useful. Because a lot of those, they're calling sugar alcohols artificial sweeteners, and then, we're comparing this to left-hand sugars. Luxus, I don't know. I gave my own concerns early on. Again, I have concerns with witch hunts, innocent parties, too much other people's personal information coming out instead of hard evidence. But by that same token, I like most sane people, want to see anybody directly involved in prison. So I always need to be clear on that. I have concerns with a lot of nonsense and breaches of privacy and potential problems and unnecessary witch hunts coming out of this. Like, the public doesn't need to know everything that happens in everybody's emails around the world. There's such thing as privacy or innocent parties, stuff that needs to be redacted. But, by that same token, clearly more people need to go to prison. Right? Throwing stains at people who are actually innocent is a problem. But I think all of us reasonably want anybody who is directly involved in prison. Anyone who touched any of those girls, prison. Anyone who guarded the door or transported those girls, prison. Anyone who, again, underage prostitutes, underage sexual assault. These are all things that they need to be in prison for, right? Anybody involved, and I think all of us agree. Prison. Not probation, not parole, prison. But we also have to be aware of innocent parties, or the other concern is people they're blackmailing and they're gossip. And it's like, that's the stuff that we have to think about. All these exchanges of emails. So what if he's over here saying, so let's blackmail this person over, because these are wealthy, powerful people like him who are psychopaths, blackmail people. They use information as leverage. So stuff like, I found out they're going through marriage counseling because one of them had an affair, or their child is strung out on drugs and tried to commit suicide, and they don't want. They're trying to keep this out of the public eye, but I know about it. Let's use it as leverage. And then all of a sudden, emails are going out there of, so and so's child tried to commit suicide, strung out on drugs. You see what I mean? And this is all becoming public. Like, that's a problem. So it's not a case of, oh, the whole public and CNN needs to broadcast all the emails. Like, this is a problem. This is a problem. Right, exactly. Using leverage to get people to do do we really want the stuff that they use to blackmail people with to be public? These sort of stuff, and people are not thinking about that. Um, but by that same token, yes, I think all of us want to see everyone guilty. Yeah, honeypot blackmail schemes, right? Yeah, I have general concerns, and I'm concerned innocent parties being blackmailed, and so on. This all comes out, and then you have a public witch hunt. Balancing that with the obvious that we want anyone guilty in prison, right? It's what we should all want. Unless you're a pederast yourself, you want the guilty in prison for this. Um, Tychus, I haven't seen that one yet, so I don't have thoughts. I'd have to see it. I haven't read it for that. There's only so many things I can dig into and read about in a day. So there's definitely concerns with all that. And my concern is all of this over TDS, or they're not going to get anything. Like common sense. Like, let me be clear. If I hated Trump, my own common sense would be like, well, this is obviously a dead end. Right? Yeah, that's all we can do. Pray for the best outcome. So you're squatting tonight, coach, thinking 335 to 345 AM rep. Cool. What's your general strength out there? Yeah. I mean, Texas is already favorable towards Republicans. You have a couple of little tiny dots of blue, like in the middle of Austin and Houston. Gerrymandering is pretty big. Gerrymandering has always been big in the U.S. Yeah. All right. Someone on Reddit posted that NH is in the Epstein files. Oh, man. No, I doubt he has that sort of wealth or contact. It's called gerrymandering. It's done by both parties again. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Squats are tough. Like even I don't like squats, and I love deadlifts. I love bench. I love deadlift. Man, I don't like squats. And you guys have seen me get stapled by some pretty big weights. You guys have even seen the weight fall on me. Do you guys remember that? You guys remember when I tried to re-rack 565 and it slipped out of the J-hook and fell on top of me? I uploaded it. I'm like, I might as well, man. I might as well just upload it. Knocked me to the ground. I uploaded it. And I got up, dusted myself off, and finished my workout and still put up the vlog. That's scary, though, man, to have 565 fall on top of you. Oh, man. I was kind of in shock. No, dude, you want me to find it? I'll find it real quick. I'll link it. It's here. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Oh Lord. Hold on, I'll link it. Yeah. Funny stuff. Here we go. Yep, there you go, dudes. If you missed it, I ain't gonna let it hit you that day. No, just because I used that camber bar and it fell out of the, slipped out of the thing because I was using the monolift. That could have gone so bad. Yeah, so there's coach. My best is 495 times 3, 475 times 4. Nice. Coach thoughts on the new, but at the same time, on the fact that 2 sets per exercise per workout is enough for fatigue management and hypertrophy. I mean, Tychus, what you see me do these days, you watch my vlogs. Isn't that what my benching and chin-ups and stuff look like? My laterals. I do 2 sets and call it a day, man. And, you know, I always do them as a drop set kind of on the bench. Were you shaking? A little bit, man. Like it scared me. I wasn't really hurt, but it scared the hell out of me. Like it was like, man, kind of was, I could have gone a lot worse. You know, that was an intense read, right? Yeah. I mean, I was up to about 240 at that time. I'm like 30 pounds lighter than that right now. Coach was getting thick. I mean, that's the phase where I ended up hitting 605 on that bar. Right, hit 605 on that bar. That's why I'm a nice slim 210 pounds now, right? I'm all svelte, right? It's a joke because I'm not exactly. It's like coach over here pretty thick, guys. Right. I was going to say, even with 30, 40 pounds difference. Oh man. Use the same song, right? 2 top sets per exercise. And Russell always look for you, veins on point. Yeah, veins. We definitely veiny. We're carved up now. All the potato and watermelons. Potatoes. I'm pissed. Speaking of watermelons, because I had it all delivered today. One of my watermelons is rotten. I already threw it in the trash. Already out. Already took it out. One of my watermelons is bad that they delivered. Y'all serious? Did you really give me a watermelon that's already gone bad? I'm gonna eat a cantaloupe here in a bit. Then after the stream, we're gonna bust out a cantaloupe. So I'm already behind a whole watermelon because I ate one of the other ones. Not cool, y'all. Nobody chiming in on the Facebook. I'm just gonna end the live there. That's enough. least they're getting some stuff in the algo. They're actually getting money though, surprisingly. Right. The only exercise I don't feel would be detrimental to a workout session. Deleted it, Titus. They also may not be that useful though. I very seriously question whether a lot of volume of anything does much. Case in point, look how much bicep volume I did. And I had other muscles that just continue to way outpace my biceps in spite of the volume. Right? So again, I absolutely respond more to intensity versus volume. I mean, look at my legs. Like, look at them, even that screenshot on the sled work. I don't do that much leg volume. I really don't. Yet, quads for days. Doesn't mean I'm going to answer a lot about TRT Defiant. I mean, I might answer it. Depends on what it is. I'm trying not to be too detailed with that. It's just not good. For my algo. I can't do more than 2 heavy sets of RDLs. Find your performance tanks. I mean, if performance tanks on set 3 sets is not doing you a complete waste of time. Really, your connection is unstable. Well, so am I, but I still work. Oh, man, what's up? All right, it reconnected. It says it reconnected. Can you guys see me? In Soviet Russia, all right, I'm gonna read this out. In Soviet Russia, you were actual physicist, nuclear scientist, Olympic wrestler, weightlifter, or your whole family goes to Gulag. You will snatch 200 kg, or whole family goes to Gulag. Sukoblayet. Right? I got enough Slavic genes, I can read that out. All right. Nobody said anything. Straight to Gulag for all of you. Gulag for you, Gulag for you. Oh man. It did kind of die out. You guys can see me, right? Oh man. Uh-oh. It's a little worrisome. I hope not. Did it? It did? Damn it. All right, let's try this. Okay, that should be good. Are we reloaded? Everybody good? It's good? Okay. I did a thing where it reloaded the stream. So I think everything should be solid now. Okay. All right, good. As long as we can still see me. It's good. Okay, cool. Cool. So we had I did a little reboot of the stream. I figured out how to do that without completely closing it and reloading and making it a whole separate one again. 3 hour stream. I don't know. It's going to be just however long I feel like, honestly, man. Whatever I feel like. Those supers would be nice. It might be worthwhile for me to do it just for any supers that come through. It was decent this morning though. Like we had supers this morning. Facebook's flowing decent today, so all good, man. All good. It's all good in the hood. But I am eventually going to want to get another meal in, but I can chat with y'all for a bit. Though if I'm going to run this a little longer, I probably do need to post a little more content. So let me put up a little bit of meme action. A little bit of meme action. Doo-doo-doo. Just a minute here, y'all, and then I will come back to you. Making a couple posts for my other stuff while we're in here multitasking. Clients are all good though. Like everybody's pretty well caught up. All right. Did you see Cassidy Campbell got a hair transplant? I did not know. Good luck with tomorrow's workout. Yeah, tomorrow should be good, man. It'll be Friday, my final real lifting session of the week. Right? The final session of the week. I feel like this stream is slow. What happened? The views are dropping way down. Not sure what's up. We need to get some topics going. No, I did not know. Did Cassie officially get a hair transplant? Or is this just a rumor? Like this is confirmed. We know for a fact. Right? Why do all these dudes get all these hair transplants, man? He's got to check on this. Why all these dudes need a hair transplant? Why all this beautiful, man? Rock it with pride. You can tell in the picture. That's the thing, too, when it's obvious you get a hair transplant like that. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? Right? I'm getting this notification from my internet. My internet app for my thing. Maybe that's why we had a little bit of issue there. Does it matter if you get your protein in 3 or 4 meals rather than 6 meals? No. Nobody even believes the 6 meal thing anymore, man. That's pretty outdated myth at this point. That's been largely debunked. You know, that's been largely debunked, brother. Not really a real concern. Right? Yeah, I don't get it, man. I mean, lots of people have low self-esteem, but you don't need to go all this hair transplant thing. I just don't get the obsession. You know? Wonder what we could do to snazz this stream up a little faster. Then again, it's fairly here. It's only 3:45, isn't it? Right? It's only 3:45. Been shaking my head since 21, right? There you go. Hold on, I got a good status. Just realized. Get that hashtag. People keep asking me, what's with the Facebook lifestyle hashtags? Because I get paid for those. It's how you get your bonus stuff. He just restarted me a new one yesterday or this morning, one or the other. I think it was yesterday. And you get 3 posts that are hashtagged with Facebook lifestyle. They get X amount of reach, and if they do, I get X amount of extra money. So, Facebook's weird. They love to dangle those carrots, right? YouTube's pretty straightforward. Facebook pays more, but they dangle a lot of carrots in front of you. A lot of rules. You're shaving your head. I started in my 30s. So I just buzzed it before that. I didn't start shaving it till my early 30s. But I just used a clipper. Like I used to do a number 1 clipper, then I went to half clipper. And then eventually I just started shaving the whole thing, man. You know? Yeah, absolutely. Way to go. Bald is beautiful. Right? Man, this got all slow. We got to get some hot conversations going so I can be all fired. People like it when I get all fired up, but man, there's not anything else happening. Like we covered the big stuff, you know. Plus, I got asked about Jesus, so I had to go there. Yeah. She started at 21. Did you just start shaving it because, or was your hair thinning already, J Dog? Right. Now, these are mental health topics, but see, the thing is, we can have these conversations as real man stuff, not guys. I need a hair transplant. Guys, I'm tweezing my eyebrows. Guys, I need this moisturizer for my face. It's like, bros, just stop. Just stop. Be a man, right? What's scary is all these dudes think that it's going to help them get girls or something. It's like, what? What? Like they're doing their face moisturizing routine or getting hair plugs because they think it's going to get them girls. And it's like, are you guys serious? What? Man, no, man, that's not going to help you at all. The receding hairlines. Man, you're started at 21. That's young. Were you on any gear? Or is it just genetics? Because I mean, I've seen it. I've known dudes who started getting it that young. It's just rare. Unless you're overproducing DHT. Cassie was looking like he just fasted for a month straight, right? Oh man. Yeah, he needs to get on that peanut butter and squats. They can back up. Someone got all offended in my post too yesterday. I saw one in here and they're like, never heard me, why are you bashing him for being lean? I'm like, no, I'm bashing him for his weird, creepy stuff. I feel like that's pretty much an open ticket. You know? Like the whole going to my gym, doing the creepy stalker thing and touching all the equipment I use, weighing the chains, that pretty much is just open ended right to bashing indefinitely, you know, because that's just weird. That's just weird, guys. I thought it was interesting in here. I had someone, Freaky Monkey, he'll probably come in the stream later. He had mentioned something in my blog. He's like, you do kind of almost a rip toe style extension. That's not going to increase your bench because of the long head, but what he's missing, it still works the lateral head. One. Number two, are guys not understanding that the long head is important for your max bench? I mean, a point of oversight, but biomechanically speaking, are guys not understanding that on a 1 rep max bench press, the long head of your tricep does get involved and it is important? Especially if you're trying to squeeze out that last bit of the lockout. I'm not talking about necessarily on your rep work, based on data, but when we look at some of the studies on 1 rep maxes and you look at that EMG, that long head lights up big time when we max out. Right? It gets an extremely high degree of activation when you start going above 90%. So when you have a truly heavy weight on the bar, so I think we can make that case for if you're trying to get that last bit of lockout out of your bench, putting a little bit of effort into your long head of your tricep back here isn't a bad idea. And I think something else that people should consider there. Anyone bench ever got weaker because they made their triceps bigger? It's just a minor point to think about when you look at the best benchers in the world. I mean, success does leave clues. Success does leave clues. Especially you start getting to those world level bench pressers, every one of them do try. Every one of those guys who bench 700 plus, they all do build that area. They do throw a little bit of work into it. You look at all their training, you see it pretty consistently. Hell, even Julius Maddox does, Hell, look at Eric Spoto's triceps. Even that long head of that man's tricep was monstrous. Just saying. Benching up past 700 raw. That guy had enormous footballs on the back of his arm. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, there's going to come a point where you have to go, nobody's benching 700 plus pounds without monstrous triceps. It's just simply not happening. It's just not going to happen. If nothing else, you need it for the elbow stabilization. I don't close grip anymore. I used to exclusively close grip. My best ever close grip at a higher weight on camera was 365. Like with a true close grip. I've done it before on camera when I was bulked up bigger. All right, 16-inch apart. So fingers right at the edge of the smooths. Done that for 365 on camera before. Now I do all white. Build them chesticles. But I still feel my lockouts start to limit me, especially on the rep work. That's why I'm doing the extra tricep work, because I'm trying to get to, I want to hit 225 for 20. I've hit 19 twice, and both times my triceps were giving out on rep 19. I almost couldn't lock it. So I feel like to get to 20 reps, I need more tricep. you know. And the same thing when I AMRAP to 315, I do feel the last rep when it starts to grind a little, I struggle a little bit with the lockout, even with the really wide grip, because I'm way out here. Like I'm all the way on the rings. Like my pointer finger is on the rings, right? So I'm way out here. But I used to only close grip. What's it called on the bar? The smooth. Yeah, the smooths. Smooth, right? You have smooth. There's nothing coarse, just reflected metal. It's stainless, like a mirror. So the smooths and then the knurl. So the textured aggressive part is called knurl, and the untextured part is just called the smooth. Like smooth. Like J Dog is smooth. Right? Have you ever trained the Olympic lift specifically? No. Have I messed with cleans and stuff in the past? Yeah. But as far as the clean and jerk, no. No experience. But I ever messed with snatches a little bit when I was younger. I did some snatches. Right? Moke's gonna be like, yo, coach, you ever clean, jerk, and snatch? Or snatch, clean, and jerk? No, man. Why do they got to give them names like that? What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with these people? Like I need air. David says, I had a hair transplant as I look better with hair than bald. If I can still have hair, why not? Sure. I'm married and couldn't give a shit what other people think. My personal preference is to have hair. Yeah, fair enough, David. That's your call. But we come back to the other point. I'm not going to make a decision like that for another man. You know, I can look at it and say, I don't get it, but it's your money and it's your head. Am I right? Right. At the end of the day, man, it's your money, it's your head. We live in a free world. Um, mm, like we get in these conversations too, you know. So you're saying we're looking at that, but I would say the same thing. We start getting into the pew world. Perfect example. There's something very personal about telling a man you don't like his choice in carry pieces. Just saying. People will do that on the internet, but man, in real life, you got to watch that. That's not, hey man, you don't tell another man what you think he needs to carry to defend his life and his family. You know, it's just your opinion. You know, falls under that category, doesn't it? I'm stepping away from Glocks, honestly. I'm pissed at Glock after this little fiasco. And someone's already bypassed it. I've already seen some company out of Houston already started printing a switch that works in the new fives. So technically, per California laws, if they haven't been overturned yet, their whole new series that they just released and got rid of all the Gen 4s and 5s is still technically illegal under California law because a company out of Houston, right here, Houston, Texas, already manufactured a switch that works. And it's a whole complicated thing of Glock caving. I will never purchase another non-American made firearm. I'm just done. So moving forward, I'm only going to probably do Smith and Wesson, Colt, stuff like that for handguns. I'll go back to an M&P if I'm going to do a plastic fantastic. Or as my one friend who hates Glocks calls them, combat Tupperware. He's a 1911 guy. One of my real life friends. Like, you and your combat Tupperware. Well, the problem is they're all European. I've owned HK and Glock. I've owned a lot of Glocks. I've never owned a SIG. But here's the point we come to, J-Dog. They're all European guns. We fall into the same set of problems. I'm done with it. All right. I'm done with it. It's fine. I can do S&Ws and Colts. Depends on if I want 1911 versus a polymer striker fire. David, I'm going to be very careful in my answer to this question. You mean specifically an AK-47 or do you mean the AKM? Because it's not Texas isn't the issue. It's the federal government. It's not a Texas problem between those two models. So the AK-47 is not semi-automatic. So no, it falls under federal guidelines. You have to have a class 3 and a stamp on it. So you have to have your federal licensing for a true AK-47. And then you're subject to NFA and ATF laws on it. Now, if you've got your tax stamp, you can carry it, but only you or someone on your trust can carry it because of the federal laws. Now, if you're talking the AKM, the civilian version, it's only semi-auto, falls like any other sporting rifle. Right, no problem. You got to have it in a sling. You can't just be like walking with it out brandished down the street. You can have it in a sling, yeah. Carrying has a connotation. The AK-74, no grenades, no, generally not. Because now we're dealing with explosives, different regulation. I believe, I don't remember the exact model of the civilian AK-74 model, but it would be the same rules. So what is it called? What are they calling it? Let me check. Why does it keep doing this age check? All right. So yeah, they're calling it like still a 74. So Palmetto State has them here. PSA K74K. Yeah. So again, they're calling it a 74 specifically. All right. So yeah, as long as it's semi-auto only, just falls under normal modern sporting rifle. So yeah, it looks like PSA has them right here. They manufacture them. With the correct, I don't know, David. Do you think your 17,000 was video still in there for, let's say, 50? I don't know. Hell, the internet might not be in here in 50 plus years. Like the T1000s could have put us all in the camps by then, man. We keep playing with AI the way that we are. If it ever gets smart enough to not be stupid, we could all be in the camps already. Question is, will then the machines keep all the records of all of it? I don't know. Yeah. I'm talking 50 years. Keep in mind, 50 years ago, the internet wasn't even predicted yet. The internet came about within my lifetime. Right? I don't know how old you are, so maybe you may not fully come to that. How old are you, Con? I do wonder if YouTube will bin some of the older videos. I've got at least 10,000 of my videos on a backup drive. All right, so I have copies. We're heading towards the Terminator 2 scenario, maybe, Tyrone. So you're in your 30s. Okay. So smartphones didn't come out. So the internet, which we call it the World Wide Web, didn't start kind of existing till I was about 17, 18 years old, like right at the tail end of high school. Right? Smartphones didn't exist till I was in my 20s. And I mean like late 20s. That's right. Al Gore invented the internet. That's right. That's what... Oh, man. Oh. Great. Hold on, guys. I'm going to be right back. All right, we're back. Was that the iPhone or the Blueberry Coach? I didn't get my first smartphone until my late 30s. I've never had anything but an iPhone. I've never used anything but an iPhone. I have no idea how to use an Android. Like if you were to hand one to me, I wouldn't know what to do with it. You've got mail, right? I remember that. Jason, how do I get my girlfriend to start lifting? She's fat. I thought one of these days she's going to ask me to go to the gym with me, but it hasn't happened yet. I don't know, man. You have to let her decide on her own. Why don't you just ask her if she wants to go to the gym with you? Like, if it's important to you, why don't you be like, hey, let's go to the gym. I want you to come work out with me. He's like, she fat. Oh, man. Oh, your family's those shipping container preppers, Tyrone. Right. Right. That type of prepper. No. Well, I didn't need one. I mean, my friends had them. I didn't need one, so I didn't get one yet. But then I jumped on and obviously didn't look back. But I've never done anything but iPhones. Yep. No, but no, seriously, I have no idea how to use any smartphone but an iPhone. I've never been inside one. Uh, Snake. Yeah, I had my Nokia brick back in the day. iPhones do whatever they do what I need them to do, right? Like them iPhones. Oh man. And my carbon fiber case. Yeah. No, I've never messed with an Android. I have no clue how they even work. What's weird is when someone tries to talk you into it. You need to switch. I'm like, why? I mean, all the movies and TV shows show predictive programming could potentially be a total blackout. Well, what you need to understand is how bad that is. Do you think the Smith machine is more prone to injury than a barbell? I think so, yeah. Has it all set up. I don't like Smith machines. Do people realize how bad it would be a true blackout? Or even an EMG burst across North America? Multiple of them. I don't think people really fully comprehend just how bad that would be. Well, let me put it this way. A true EMP burst around the world, right? EMP attack, if everything, the grid goes down, we're talking like all first world countries, 80% loss of the population in 6 weeks. Four out of five people are gone. We don't even need zombies for that. None of your vehicles. What do you mean electric vehicles? Do you not understand your car doesn't work? Maybe the preppers are alive. Not all of them. So it's going to be, there's a lot of nuance. So really think that through. So do you really think your old vehicle works? So let me be clear. Do you think your carbureted 1970 Chevelle, what happens to it in an EMP burst? Like, let's say you got your Chevelle sitting in the garage with your 454 big block in there and a Holly carb on it. No modern electronics. Does it still work? No. That engine's not going to work. You have no ignition system. Your spark plugs and starter don't work. They're done. That engine's not turning back on. It's done. I have a few things that are EMP resistant, actually. Guaranteed. Right? My red dot. I got a red dot right here. This is guaranteed to work. I'll still have my red dot. So, right. So what happens if you lose everything? You don't have any vehicles. You have nothing. Well, let me be clear. So if you're talking EMP wave like that, where electric grid gets knocked out, your engines will not work. Even your carbureted 1970 car doesn't operate ever. It's permanently off. You have no cars, you have no planes, you have no engines. Not even that older technology. It's toast. What happens? You have no means to transport food. You have no means to pump water. With our current population, I mean, this is stuff people don't think about with food science, right? So, same thing here. We only have 5 people watching. Hopefully, they're in here. So, what happens if all GMO food is ended right now? Let's say an international bill is passed across the board. All GMO foods and crops are outlawed immediately, pulled by world governments. How many people die in the first 6 months? 3 billion? 2 billion? So, we're in a world situation we need so many things just to sustain the population. How effective is it? So let's say your car is protected. What's shelf life of gasoline? So let's say you somehow have protected your car from an EMP burst. Gas plants aren't operational. What are you going to run it on? You can't stockpile it. What's the shelf life? For your modern fuel injection to still run it? What's your shelf life on that gas? Especially with the E85 added. So let's go say take your modern new car right now. Whatever your Toyota Camry, your Range Rover, whatever you happen to have, modern one. How long can it run that old gas? Do you know? Not talking about your lawnmower, it gets a little longer. Modern fuel injection, about 12 weeks. Well, good stockpiling the gas going to do? It's going to go bad. Some older carbureted engines will still can be retuned a little, maybe 10 months to a year at most. Definitely not the stuff with the ethanol added. Appreciate it, Connor. So what good is stockpile gas going to do you? You can get about 12 weeks out of it. Then it starts to go bad. Can tell you a major blackout within 6 weeks. We're at cannibalism in the cities. You're eating other people. Like, I'm just being straight up, dudes. And I'm just being brutal honest. You see a full shutdown of the grid, Houston, London, New York, week 6, we're eating our neighbors or starving. In the dense population centers, dude, you're at cannibalism by then. I mean, no, seriously. Like, I'm not even trolling you. I'm dead serious. That is logistically where you are. You know who's got it really bad too? People on just the outskirts of the big city. Well, the preppers on just the outskirts, bro. Let's say you're here. Let's say you're a little further out from me, a little further into the slightly rural areas, next to a major metropolitan center. Your walkers are going to be the hungry people coming out of the city. How many hundreds of people are going to cross through your property? 10 years of food stocked up. 100 people will go through that real quick, won't they? The outlying rural areas on metropolitan, any major metropolitan area is going to be overrun by hungry people on foot. Hungry, desperate people. If you live where I do, hungry, desperate people with AR-15s. I had a plan. I don't have a plan where I'm at now. I had a plan. My zombie apocalypse plan when I lived in that condo is to barricade myself in and then transport. The first night, I had a 6-story parking garage 50 yards from my condo building. To cart my stuff up at night, my ammo, my food, whatever, barricaded in up there. Build a fort on the top floor or the 5th floor, kill anybody who comes up there. Set up trip wires, set up everything, bells, so that I can hear anybody coming and neutralize anyone who comes into my area and sit it out for the first 6 weeks. I had enough food and water at one time there, dry goods, water, 10,000 rounds of ammo. I would have just gone up there, chilled on 5th floor. That's my floor. I own it. No trespassing. Yep. That would have been my game plan. Wait it out till the first few waves of people are out. And then you cart yourself out at night, only travel at night to get out of the city. Now most of the carnage is done. Most of the death is over. You know, by then 80% of the people are gone. Only travel at night, find holes to sleep in during the day, and get out of the city after that. But you sit it out the first 6 weeks. That first wave out, you don't want to be in that. That's bad. Hundreds, thousands of hungry, desperate, armed people walking on foot. You don't want to be in that first wave walking out of the city. Not in a total collapse. Well, the same thing. I had a home gym and a stockpile of gear to stay big. Eat peanut butter for 6 weeks. Peanut butter and protein shakes. Right? I didn't have a family there at the time. Let me go travel all the way to my family. Do you know how big my extended family is? Well, I have, between my 2 sides of my family, I have 26 first cousins. I mean, what do you mean, my family? You're going to have to be a little more specific, because I didn't have a wife and kids at the time. Yeah. I had my ex. She knew my zombie plan. We talked it through, you know. Tulips on the roof. Right. But everybody's got their zombie apocalypse plan, but that was mine. Sit it out. I don't really have a good one here. I guess I'd have to chill here for a bit. But I have no shortage of ammo. I have level 4 body armor. You know. I don't know. Feel like now, if we're talking zombie, I'm good, man. I've got enough ammo to clear headshots all day long from the roof on zombies. All day long, baby. All right. Oh man. But if you're talking not true zombie, you're talking just EMP, man, I know it'd be ugly. But I kind of already know who the real preppers are. I don't know. I don't have a situation for a werewolf outbreak. I don't have any silver bullets. But I need to work on that. I have something pretty close. Hey, James, I have some old school black talons. James, bro, hold on. You're a gun guy. James, you're a gun guy, right? For the non-gun people, remember Breaking Bad? What the guy gave them, and Hank shot one of the brothers with. It fell out. Yes, it's real. It's the real deal. I got a whole case of them. It's in 45. Check that out, James. Little piece of nostalgia. Yeah, that's what the guy gave. One of those old school black talons. They got for a little while. They were like pushed to be outlawed. Remember all that? So what he gave the guy from Breaking Bad, the guy who sold those guys the armor, was like, I got the black talons. So he gave him one in 45. The guy had it in his pocket. And then Hank, when that fell to the ground and that axe dropped, or the guy had the axe, that black talon fell out, and he picked it up and shot the guy with the black talon in the head, and the axe dropped. A whole bunch of them, actually. So yeah. So I've got the OG black talons. These were a gift. These were a gift to me. Someone gave me. Yeah, headshot. The story behind that, but I'll keep it to myself. I'm gonna put them up. Yep. Ahead of its time. Yeah. Yeah, the black talon was ahead of its time. It was well engineered. And the reason I thought of that, because it came from that same era the silver tips did. Right? Remember the whole silver tip, which is why I was thinking of silver bullets and silver tip. I used to have some silver tips as a kid because I've got them for werewolves. It's hilarious. So I had a bunch of Winchester silver tips in 9mm. So, this guy from Hank was home because I didn't want Walter to get caught up and go to jail, right? Oh man, I like Hank. I mean, so again, take Breaking Bad. Hank was the true good guy in the show, right? At the end of the day, any way you break it down, who was the one guy who stuck to his morals and his values all the way to the end? Hank. I'm not saying he wasn't a flawed person. We're all humans. We have flaws. But if men are talking and men were to sit down and we're talking, well, let's use the term alpha male. Let's just use it. Hell, let's bring it back in a positive way. Hank was an alpha male with a code of honor all the way to the end. Yeah. No, Walter was a horrible person. Right? He was a villain, pretty early in the show. But Hank, right? Yeah, right. Hank wanted to put a stop to it, right? Right. He did. You know. Yeah, no, absolutely. I would have been the same way with Hank. Yeah, definitely. When he's getting his kid to drink like that, didn't want to drink, making him drink. It's like, whoa, hold up. Yeah, don't ruin anything, Ozymandias. Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair. Right? Yeah, that's abuse. That is definitely abuse. Kid doesn't want to drink, dad's making him drink. Yeah, that's I would say that qualifies as abuse. Possibly even legally so. But yeah. But if you watch all the way through, man, Hank is true to the end. Right? Yeah. So you got to respect that. He had his sense of honor as a man and his set of values, and he carried it all the way to the end. I don't think Hank was an anti-hero. I think he was a hero. He didn't even fit the true anti-hero stereotype. He had a few flaws, but he wasn't the true anti-hero thing. I don't think he quite fell into that stereotype. No, he stayed pretty well a hero. You know? Walter was of course the protagonist of the show, but he was a bad person. Right? That's true. He did put Jesse in the hospital. Yeah, but then again, Jesse was also a piece of crap. Let's also keep in mind the context, man. He's also a cop, and Jesse was a drug dealer. You know, I mean, let's be clear. We knew Jesse was a bad guy. Jesse didn't, but did well. I mean, here's the point we get into, man. Walter was a bad guy, right? I mean, Walter was a psychopath. I mean, he blackmailed him, but here's the other thing. Yeah, Walter sold. I mean, Walter was a psychopath. Jesse had his own set of problems. He was an addict, lifelong drug addict. You know, so Jesse shows you how far addiction becomes a problem. Walter, on the other hand, was a true psychopath, just as much as the cartel guys. Well, the cancer diagnosis changed Walter, but deep down, man, how about Saul? Man, Saul was a whole different thing too. Um, did you see that Saul's on show, by the way, Connor? I'm not sure if you saw Better Call Saul or not. Like I watched it actually. Yeah. Now Jesse went through a lot. Jesse was still a bad guy, but Jesse was also the flaw of this is what addiction does. Would Jesse Pinkman have existed as a bad guy had he never got hooked on drugs originally? You know, Jesse is an anti-hero. Maybe he might fit the stereotype of an anti-hero. He tried to do good stuff. Like Jesse wanted to be good, but he was an addict. You know, Right. No, I like Saul. I like his show. You know. Yeah. Jesse would be an anti-hero. Even the anti-hero part because of his drug addiction. He had a good heart. But that's the point, Felix. Jesse had a good heart, but he was an addict. Right. So again, ultimately, I think anti-hero is a good description for Jesse, right? Because at the end of the day, an anti-hero is deeply flawed. They still have a good heart and end up doing good things in spite of their major flaws. Jesse's major flaw, he was a drug addict. And I mean, hooked on some of the worst stuff like meth. I mean, bro, I've seen what meth does to people firsthand. It's like I hate alcohol. Don't get me wrong. I think alcohol's a total poison because of the total damage. But I've watched what meth does to somebody, and it just ruins you as a human being. Like it's almost no coming back. Like once someone's hooked on meth, I don't know that you ever get that person back. You know, that's why it's like meth dealers, I think, should be charged with murder because it is pretty much destroying a person. You know, so no, I think meth creators and dealers should be charged like with capital murder, like premeditated, straight up murder. You know, my opinion. But you know, yeah. But all interesting characters. But Walter was truly a psychopath. The horror heroin was pretty bad. Yeah. Same with fent dealer. Well, fent just possibly worse. I mean, it's just so deadly. Like people just straight up dying. It's pretty bad. I've not been around it. Like I've seen people addicted to meth. I've known people who are meth addicts. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Um, like that is a drug that for me, I would be like, dude, the people selling it, I would have no problem with them getting a death penalty. Wouldn't even feel bad about it. You know, I was on a jury. Could I pass that sentence on them and sleep just fine? You know, we're talking about Breaking Bad. Yeah, we're talking Breaking Bad, Alejandro. You know, we're talking about the different characters. We were all agreeing. Someone thought Hank might be an anti. No, Hank was a hero all the way to the end. He had some flaws. He had some anger issues, but he was a hero. He had his values as a man. Like Hank was an alpha male with a code of honor all the way through. A lot of people liked Walter, but Walter was a truly evil person. You know, Mike, in the show. Oh, are you? Is that the? It's been. I've seen it a long time. He did have a code of honor. He's still a villain. I get he had a code of honor though, but he's definitely not an anti-hero. You know. Oh, Walter's definitely worse than Tony Soprano. He was fascinating character. Definitely evil. Definitely a psychopath. You know, a lot of psychopaths in the show, though. By the very nature of it, all the cartel guys, Gus, they're all psychopaths. Yeah, true. When you see it in Better Call Saul, it fleshes Mike's character out better. Right. Yeah. Right. Question is, would Saul be an anti-hero? Hmm. Gus is more evil. I don't know, man. They were both pretty bad. We start getting into that tier. I'm not sure if we can really set degrees of evil further between those two. I do see what you're saying, Tyrone. Yeah. 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 Better Call Saul, he was an anti hero, but he definitely wasn't in Breaking Bad. Yeah, whereas in Jesse was, yeah, Jesse's flaw being so Jesse could fall under anti-hero because he had a good heart and tried to do right and did do some good stuff here and there, but he was a drug addict, and that was his major flaw. You know. Yep. All right. He knew he plays a kid. Uh, Connor's a mod, so I have two moderators. So Peppermint, Freedom, and Connor are both mods in the live streams. They can put people in timeout and they can regulate it when I'm away from the computer. All right. Yeah. Good shows though. Right? Good writing. Both the shows are good. They were both good in their own right. I couldn't stand Skylar. I mean, she was definitely a villain. I found Skylar impossible to like in the show. Like even early on, I found her overbearing. Right? Yeah, Kim way better. Intelligence was underrated, but I really disliked her. I found her to be a very unlikable character all the way. She graded me the wrong way from day one. Was it Stockholm syndrome, or was Skylar just really not a good person? I don't know if it was purely Stockholm syndrome or not. Toilet paper said. Also, it mentions that Jeffrey doesn't mean he had tea on him. He doesn't. I don't think Jeff had anything to really take down Trump. He wanted to take down Trump and couldn't. You know, we went all the way back to the 2 hours ago because of the title. So go back and watch all my early stuff if you want from it. Toilet if you want to rewatch the stream. There was a lot of conversation on that. She did cheat on Walt, which was bad, right? Definitely that overbearing wife. She was a cheater, right? And then got involved in his crime. But here's the thing. When she found here's the thing, guys. Moment of test of character. Stockholm syndrome, or when she found out what was really going on. My husband is distributing enormous amounts of manufacturing methamphetamine in huge amounts that is killing people. Right. Hey, Toilet. So a truly evil person is giving a bad judge of character of Trump. Are we going to pretend that a truly evil human being's judge of character is valuable to us? That's not damning at all. I mean, Jeffrey was a pedophile and a human trafficker. He is a truly evil person. Does he even know what a good versus an evil person is? Therein lay the problem with that. Oh man, just throwing that out there. And I'm not saying Trump's necessarily a good person either. He definitely has his flaws, but and I admit that as someone who voted for him. No, I'm not this enormous Trump worshiper. He's a very flawed person. I still voted for him, and I still believe it was the right choice. But he's got his flaws as a person. But, I mean, Jeffrey Epstein's judge of character of other people. Come on. You know, guy's a pedophile and a human trafficker. That's pretty evil. Yeah, so then Skylar got involved in Ted's money laundering. All right, so Skylar was more than willing to do all this. Notice there was no horrified that her husband was doing all this. No, she just jumped in and said, okay, this is the situation. Instead of going, oh my God, all these, he's hurting people. People are dying because of this poison that he's pumping out there. She slept just fine. Well, let's get this money laundered. Now, Skylar was evil. And I don't mean she became evil later in it. Now, anybody who's willing to, right, from a psychology angle, right? But any person who's willing to just look at that and go, yeah, sure, we'll do this. Let's keep in mind she was willing to launder other money laundering schemed, cheater, infidelity, right? Let's be clear who she was. Let's be clear who she was. And then when put in a position to do true evil for money, didn't hesitate. Didn't even hesitate. No, that's not someone who just became evil from, Stockholm syndrome. Bro. She was willing to do large amounts of evil for all that money without hesitation as soon as the opportunity was presented. Just like she laundered money for Ted as soon as the opportunity was presented. She cheated on her husband without giving it a second thought. No, I'm saying that's who she was all the way through. We don't know who we are till we're put in the position to test it, right? You're along, right? Yep. Yeah, plus he asked her to do that knowing she was a married woman. There's lines you don't cross, man. Now, we haven't compiled anymore. We've been talking about whether Skylar was evil or not. Breaking Bad. We've been talking Breaking Bad for like 30 minutes here. No, dude. Sometimes we don't know who we are until we are tested. But every time she was put in a position to do evil, she didn't hesitate. Right? All the way up. All the way up to being willing to take all that money, knowing hundreds of people were dying for it. Didn't hesitate. I didn't think she was attractive. I thought Hank's wife was attractive. I didn't like Skylar. I thought she was ugly. Me personally. But everyone has different tastes in women. I found her unattractive. I didn't think she was pretty at all. It's my opinion. Watched a few episodes and got bored. Did you watch You? That was awesome. I didn't see that. Yep. When Walt let Jane die, her dad calls a plane crash which killed 200 people. right? Man. Again, James, what happens? That's addiction. That is why so again, this is the problem with drug dealers of why I say the people who do this stuff, man, just do away with them. Death penalty. Because look at what they create. You know? Look at what they create. Because Jane is weak people. When the weak are exposed to drugs, you get Jane, you get Jesse, right? Yeah. I mean, the drug addict is the weak. If we're going to take the fake biblical line, Ezekiel 25:12 or whatever, from Pulp Fiction, which I really like that diner scene, by the way. You know, junkies are the weak. Right? They're the weak. And that's the tyranny of evil men. Right? The tyranny of evil men. Right? Actually, guys, I'm probably going to wind this down, to be fair. I got to get a little more food in, though. So, give you guys a bicep shot before we go. Mount Vesuvius. We're out of here.